Well, just in case you're counting down, it's just 20 days before Christmas, and a whole lot is happening, buying, selling, and of course some have been caught and even burnt. And if you're a consumer, you have to really complain. We're looking at how best we can protect the consumers, especially now in the Yuletide. Joining us to look at that is the Director General, Consumer Protection Council, Dupe Atoki. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, I'm sure all Nigerians will be excited because they have loads and loads of questions to put before the CPC. And well, to start with, let's look at the core mandate of the CPC so that we can better establish some of these complaints.
Thank you. The Consumer Protection Council was established in 1999 and basically to provide speedy redress for consumer complaints in respect of services and goods. So a quick one, it covers everything and anything, because if you say goods, it means vehicles, it means household equipment, whatever. If you say services, it also covers telecoms, aviation, any manner of request that you meet for someone to provide service for you.
Well, anyway, if you say this, perhaps that is why it has been accused of, well, getting into the way of some other agencies like NAFDAC, Standards Organization of Nigeria, and even the NCAA.
It's just because...
How do you draw the line?
They do not, most of them don't know what their mandates are in law. And because if you do, you will...
You're a lawyer, by the way.
Over 40, almost 40 years in private practice, yes. NAFDAC, let me just take them because those are the ones that have a bit of overlap. It's an industry regulator. And we do need to regulate the industry, the businesses that provide service or goods. Otherwise, you would be inundated with substandard products. So that's why they are there. So NAFDAC, especially set aside to ensure standards for food and drugs. And they've done a good job, there's no doubt about that, in setting standards. And we would forever remember the late Professor Edora Akweli for what he has done, and the good job that even the current Director General is doing, following in her stead. However, there is a line where the NAFDAC mandate stops. Because as long as you continue to regulate industries, you are not a good protector of the consumers, and so the law recognizes that. So if you have a challenge with a product that has been regulated by NAFDAC, for instance, somebody consumes the bottled water and finds some sediments or debris in it, you do not complain to NAFDAC. If you do, they don't have the powers to remedy that. So for redress purposes of the various guidelines they have put together, consumer protection has been designated to address complaints emanating from there. So the line is very strict and clear. It's just that it's been warped in the eyes of the public because they don't understand. NAFDAC has been very, very proactive in teaching and educating on the guidelines that they have set up. For instance, you need to put a date, you need to find NAFDAC number and all that. We all know that. But what we don't know, a lot of us, is that where we have a complaint, where do we go to?
But, you know, that is very clearly spelled out. I'm sure that there are exceptions to, you know, areas that consumers can complain about. For instance, electricity. If you were taking complaints on electricity, you definitely would be inundated with a lot, wouldn't you?
We have the powers to do so. Electricity is service. It's service that has been provided. So if you are dissatisfied with the service that you have paid for, you come to consumer protection. Now, I'll have to let you know that there is the natural inclination to guard your tuft. And every regulator believes that they are also the best protector of the stakeholders that they regulate, which is, I don't know if it's natural, but that's what is happening here. And CPC has had some challenges, and it's not been very visible, so everybody has couched a tuft and has remained protected. There is no area that the CPC cannot intervene on behalf of consumers. We have a clear and global mandate. If you read our section 12, it gives us powers to implement any legislation for the protection of consumers, howsoever it is made.
Okay, my colleagues asked you about power, electricity supply, and there are already complaints coming in. And this particular Olu Gele says, how can one get redress if PHCN gives less service than was paid for, and sometimes you don't even get any service, and you're paying exorbitantly bills that you've not consumed? So how do we get service?
Not getting
redress.
Redress, yes. So if you don't get service for what you have paid for, what you want is redress. And redress can either be that what you've paid for, you get refund, or you get the service cumulative in one way or the other. That's how you can get redress. Let me say that the new privatization process has actually destabilized the understanding of consumers as to where to go, because we now have the discourse and the various segments of the privatization structure. But the fact remains that whichever level is to provide redress, to provide service, must provide it. Now, our relationship with the regulator in that sector, the National Electricity Regulatory Commission, is a bit more cordial than the others, because we've come to an understanding that they cannot regulate and protect. So we are working with them to say we'll have to find a way in which some of these complaints are downloaded to us.
If I may comment,
yes.
What you're saying is implying, or looks as if we've been having a lot of challenges with the other agencies of government, because let's use the NCAA, for instance. They have a complaints desk in the airport. So how do you manage working with all these other agencies and yet still protect the consumer? And many of them still feel they are not being protected.
I agree they are not. We do have a challenge like I did explain, that every regulator thinks that they also should protect. Some, by law, give some protective mandate in addition to regulation. That is the case with NCAA. They have a Passenger's Bill of Rights, which prior to CPC's intervention in the case where some 39 passengers were left overnight at the airport and the crew just walked away, and we investigated and ordered that the passengers be paid some compensation for that. That led to all the flyers you are seeing and all the banners that are coming up in the airport as to what your rights are. Those rights were there years before now. Nobody brought them to the attention of the consumers. So it's a matter where we have a bit of powers for some regulators. It's a matter of understanding how to progress. But if you are not able to redress consumers from your own consumer protection unit, you do not have the right to exclude the CPC from protecting, which is what is happening now. As far as the NCA is concerned, CPC has no business in the aviation sector, and that's a misunderstanding of our laws. Because yes, you have a bit of power, but the overriding powers that we have, a lot of these small consumer protection units don't have them. We have the prosecutory powers to compel, to prosecute. Most of these other small, like you can see the NCC also have their own consumer protection unit. It's okay. You do your bit in that ambit. But if you can, we remain the overall agency that is given the wider powers to ensure compliance, which a lot of them don't have.
How effective would you say you have been?
Well, sorry, please answer his question.
Pardon?
How effective would you say you have been?
I have been. Oh, well, in the context that I've sat on this table for about a year, I think that I've have brought more visibility to the CPC, which is one. I think I've had also more opportunity to educate consumers about their rights, which is fundamental, and which I think I found very lacking at the time that I took over the office, because if you do not know your rights, you cannot be assertive. And I think I've done that, and we are trying to also to ensure and to say to industries and businesses that you need to comply with the orders of council. You are aware that there's some investigation that is going on with some businesses for which there's some prosecution is going on right now. And so that is where I think that there's some effectiveness that has been going on.
We'll come to that matter, because that is one area where some people will say perhaps now consumer protection is now stepping into regulation as well. But asking that question as to, do we have a culture of formalizing our complaints? If we're dissatisfied with products, have you seen Nigerians imbibe that culture of formalizing complaints and coming to the CPC, for instance?
Not on a level that is satisfactory. And that's why I say there's consumer apathy, because they just believe nothing will be done about it, in my opinion. And when I came in, I did the research to find out just what is the level of consumer awareness. We do not have that culture to the level that is expected. And it can only be for two reasons. Either you really don't even know that you have been wronged, or you don't know where to go, or you don't even believe that if you go there, you are going to get any redress. And that's what I'm trying to whip up the culture. You, as a consumer, you are king, you have the right. If you are dissatisfied with any product or service, don't take it and just say, this is Nigeria, and anyway, what can we do? If you buy a product and it's half-filled, you have the right to return it and get one that is properly. So you rise up and wake up and assert your right, complain, at least as a first step. So I think we are getting there, because there's been some increase in the complaints that we receive since I assumed office, and I believe that with a lot more from the CPC in terms of awareness, Nigerians are very proactive. You just need to tell them you can get this done somewhere, and they'll go there.
We'll be taking some of those questions that will have a lot more meaning to the viewer who's watching, especially in terms of service delivery and even goods that he or she has bought. But we have this breaking story just coming in now. We understand that Mr. Ambode has won the governorship primaries for the All Progressives Congress in Lagos State with 3,735 votes. We have to look at the total votes pretty much later, but news just in, the former Accountant General of Lagos State, Mr. Akin Ambode, has just won the governorship primary for the All Progressives Congress in the state. Sean Okimbalo is still very much there. Well, we hope to establish contact with him in the course of our broadcast.